Hello, everybody. Welcome back to In Our Humble Opinion. I'm Chachi. That is Tom. Tom, say hello.
Woo!
Okay,
Trigger me!
today we're going to cover the running backs and wide receivers. Tight ends will be probably next week because they're kind of big time.
Whoa.
Or following weeks, whatever time we got. But anyway, we're going to start with the running backs. We'll do the wide receivers last because they seem to be the big dogs of the draft. But anyway, Tom, I'm using PFF's website, guys. I'm using just the names. I know it has stuff written under it. If people want to read it, I'm giving you free publicity. Okay, there you go. We're gonna talk about them.
Strong. I like it. Hey, it's strong, man.
Gotta be nice. Chris
Yeah.
Collinsworth, we love you. This proves it. Stop. Anyway, Tom, any of them jump out? Do you have the names up here on the board? Anybody you want to start with, in particular?
Well, so let's start with like Trey Benson, Florida State. I think he's awesome, right? Like he's super quick. He had a ton of production, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, just big play juice. Dude, he was super important, like for their success all year. Whether they lost, like people probably recall that they lost their quarterback and their starter and to a bad
Travis,
knee
yeah,
injury,
Travis.
and
Yeah, we were
you know
talking about him.
he was always productive, right? I remember like when they played Duke, those two teams just kept trading blows, and it was a run game. It was actually fun to watch. Like, wow, there's two teams that are just running the ball. How fun's that? um, he really jumps out to me as an awesome gut pick. Um, I really, really like Blake Corum.
Yeah, me
That's
too.
another guy.
That's my guy.
Like I
Yeah.
just he can do everything and he's tough. My question is he like a better Mike Hart? Like if you
Right,
think
right,
of
right.
Michigan running backs,
Yeah.
like what is he? I don't, he kind of reminds me of him, just like in terms of stature. Um, but I think then my final one I really like is Braylon Allen from
Yeah.
Braylon Allen
Wisconsin.
from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of value there, and he played in the Big Ten. He played against tough physical defenses, right? He's a physical runner. He's
Mm-hmm.
not as explosive as I would say as like Jonathan Taylor,
Uh-huh.
but he is very downhill. I think you put him in a zone type offense if you put him in more of a downhill type offense, he can do really well.
No, I agree. And I think there's value just in general with that kind of running back in certain situations, right? You know what I mean? It's like the Will. I want to bring up Will Shipley too from Clemson. I think he's going to be valuable because of how the game is now with the passing. I think he could be like we were joking about it when we were talking about what we were talking about yesterday. Maybe the Patriots, keep with tradition. Little dude catching
Right.
passes out the backfield, he'd be very good at that. He's a very versatile player. I think he's a guy you're gonna get a lot of value at later on in the draft. The guy Aldrich from Notre Dame, he's pretty solid player. I don't. He's got a lot of speed, and another guy, the way it is now constructed in the NFL is very successful. Could help a team. Like you said though, Braylon Allen's my guy for like. I think he's going to be a real good value pick just because having a big guy like that, sometimes bad weather, got to run the clock out, get some tough yards. Always need those guys in certain situations. They're really key because sometimes throwing the ball is not a chance. Um, Ray Davis from Kentucky. I just want to see if it transitions to the NFL as far as like you're playing in Kentucky. I know it's SEC, but it's really tough sometimes. But like you were making the point of a lot of Kentucky running backs do really well in the NFL. So I think he'll be pretty solid. Blake Snell for the Steelers was really solid. They have a couple other guys that made it pretty well in the NFL. And Benson though,
Henderson was always
yep,
really good.
yep.
He was solid. I don't know if he's gotten the opportunities, but
Oh no, they seem
they
to stick around
translate
though.
well
They
to the
do.
NFL.
Trey Benson, like you said, I really like watching the tape on him. Like you said, even when the injuries happened with Travis, that they were still really good because he was very consistent all year. Very consistent runner. Um, like you said, Corum. My thing is he's just a tough, hard nosed running back. Kind of like you said, is he going to be like Mike? If he even is like Mike Hart, he's still a solid guy to have because doesn't fumble, tough runner. It's kind of a guy you need. And Jalen Wright for Tennessee, I like him, but again, Tennessee running backs have a good pedigree too. We got a lot of them that do well in the NFL. Just want to see how he transitions. He looks pretty good. Jonathan Brooks, I know the ACL and all, but they always heal better. He's from the Texas running back. He is kind of built the way you want the running backs nowadays built, kind of speed and power, but a little bit of both. But my thing is, I don't think he's Bijan, and I think and I think he's ranked properly. Like they got him ranked 56th. Okay, I'm like, yeah, I don't know if he's a first rounder, but he's really solid player. I don't think he's like much better than the other guys you're picking. Like I would probably like Benson and Corum a little better for me, but maybe someone fits someone's scheme. Maybe they see something better.
There's one other guy I like too, Marshawn Lloyd.
Yeah.
Because he's like a very similar. He reminds me of Josh Jacobs, but I think he's actually a little bit more explosive.
He was on a good,
like elusive. Like
he was on a. That was a good offense. Really good. That was a good offense. We're talking about the like wide receivers in a bit. That Rasheed Rice, not Rasheed Rice, wrong guy. Jerry Rice's son. He's a solid player. I think he's getting overlooked just because. I think it's Jerry Rice's son, right? And we got all these great prospects, but I think there's a lot of guys going lower with the I think receivers like just so many prospects this year that are very good. We're talking Leggett, we got Keon Coleman later on that you can get some solid guys in second, third round. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think this goes back to like when we're talking about like when we do our mock draft, like you're gonna end up finding like there's gonna be this run on these offensive linemen and tackles in the first round, just based on needs and needs across the NFL, but also just the depth and talent early in the draft. Like these are some really good prospects. I think you're going to see a lot of these receivers kind of fall where you can get stuff day two. It's the same with these running backs. It's so interesting. Like skill position is sometimes just, I look at it as like with the running backs, I don't see this like blue chipper like. It's blue chip, building block to me, just a contributor.
No, I agree.
I don't see blue chipper in this.
Yeah, no AP. Yeah, I know.
I do see there's some building blocks. Like if you have a Trey Benson,
I agree.
If Jonathan Brooks, I think people are drafting him based on where he can go. Like you're drafting that purely on potential.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, I mean.
Bucky Irving, the Oregon guy.
This is very pro ready. Now, I don't know about pass protection. I haven't really gotten into like a ton of
me either.
Pass protection in the NFL is a lot harder.
It is
because
they're bigger dudes too.
At the snap of the ball, they may line up in their spot and then get there, and they're just bigger.
The Patrick Queen, the Pittsburgh Steelers linebacker, is very good at that. He's very good at getting in there. He shoots that gap.
Yeah, but I think there's a ton of what I see is these guys are kind of pro ready. But it doesn't. But their ceiling might not be as high as you think. But again, people project ceiling, and it's like we don't really know. You could have a guy that works his tail off and is able to stay healthy and is actually, the next.
Also, running back's a lot about like opportunity too, especially nowadays, because it's not the building block of offenses anymore. It's like you need a team to give you the chance to be the big time back, because some guys you're not going to get it because the offense just RPOs and all this stuff. Your offense really isn't built around like, hey, we're going to pound it. It's not the 90s, right? Or the 80s. They're not like, hey, we're going to run the ball 26 times in this game, no matter what you get,
Statistically, like when you talk about the points scored on a team, what matters the most is the passing game.
True.
That actually is a massive, that's why the passing game, like running in the NFL, it's super interesting. Everyone says, hey, you have to run the ball. You do, because that starts getting into clock management and a balanced offense.
Yeah.
But in reality, we've seen it. There's teams that have the greatest passing games ever, and they get to the Super Bowl or they make long runs. I mean, you think of the Patriots of 2007. They could run the ball, but that team was all offense.
Yeah.
Or passing offense.
Yeah.
And it shows you passing offense does matter. That's why everybody is all about we have to find quarterbacks and playmakers.
I also think the transition of the rules helped a lot though too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Especially
pass interference. I mean, pass interference isn't honestly my problem anymore. I just don't feel like there's none of those hits anymore where you see people just trying to dislodge it, like physically being physical. That's what's super frustrating from my standpoint.
No, I agree. No, and I'm not hating on what
like even across the middle. Like I don't understand why more slot receivers aren't like better than Wes Welker and like Edelman right now.
No, I agree.
Just honestly, like it doesn't make any sense to me. But
I think I like Jalen Wright too. I want to see where he goes. Oh, sorry about that. The Bucky Irving kid out of Oregon. Excuse me. I'm using my bias a little bit in this one. These Oregon running backs, a lot of times, they're not very good in the NFL. I mean, I think he can be if he's utilized properly, but most of the time it just doesn't work out. It's kind of like a RPO heavy offense. Well, and it's weird. Look at many examples. It kind of reminds me of the thing we were talking about with Kentucky running backs and like Tennessee running backs. They have a good pedigree for the NFL. They're the opposite. They don't work too often. The Oregon players.
Oh yeah, number one, he's so small.
He is.
Like that's just like when we're talking Braylon Allen, who's kind of a change-up guy, who's like I would say he's a much quicker.
5'10", 195. Yeah, it's very tiny.
Dude, yeah. I mean that's like remember was DeAnthony Thomas like
5'9".
He was electric. Absolute stud in college, and honestly, in the pros, he was really good at it when he was given the role he needed to be given. But just because you're a star at Oregon's offense is just so friendly, and I'll be honest with you too, they don't, they don't play like, if you go watch the Washington tape, and you're just kind of like, I don't know. It's just like he's okay. Like I think in the right role, he makes a ton of sense. I wouldn't be. I hope everybody doesn't start oh my gosh, they get this guy like that. Like, yeah, he's a great athlete, but all these guys are good athletes. So
I would be remiss. We talked about.
I'd rather have a guy like a Blake Corum with.
We talked about Braylon Allen, who I really like, but also I looked at the Aldrich kid a little bit too, from Notre Dame. He's another powerful dude. I think he could help a team too. Of course, not the main guy, but I'm saying, some carries, really beat up a defense a little bit for you. What's he listed at? 227, yeah. 5'11", yeah, he's a little bowling ball.
Well, no, exactly. Like, that extra 20 pounds matters. Like, that's what I'm saying, Bucky Irvin. He's an explosive, change of pace guy. He's kind of like a Kenneth Gainwell. You can use some gadgets.
Yep.
He's just a guy, he's a role player, which is fine. But that's what always makes it so interesting that he's up so high. So
yeah, the only time I look at the height and all not being a problem, I got to see you play. Like when I see it on tape, you can see it. It's like I'll give you an example. Last year, he got hurt, but little guys like Keaton Mitchell, when they have that kind of shiftiness off the ball when they get it, I think they can be a guy that could carry your offense if they get to that level. Because they have the speed. But it was kind of like Chris Johnson, right? Chris Johnson wasn't huge, but the thing was he was automatically kind of slippery, right? And then when he hit that gear, bro, he was just gone, right? That's what I'm saying. You can have a little guy be the big time running back, but the thing is he has to kind of have that slipperiness to him. And you could see it on tape a lot. You'll see him slipping out of tackles real quick, and then they hit that hole, and then that's where the speed helps them because they're not taking unnecessary hits because it's a lot of 50-yard gains, or that's what saves them. It's you can be that guy, but you have to have that.
The hits in the NFL are harder eventually when they get you.
Or the field.
I mean, remember when Green Bay had Ty Montgomery? To your point about getting they ran an offense with Ty Montgomery at running back, and it worked really well.
Mm-hmm.
Right, having a slippery little guy that can just hit holes really quick, and if you can cover up D linemen and get your bodies on linebackers that can't make those plays, I think the linebackers in the NFL, they may not be as physical as back in the day. You only have so many Roquan and stuff, but middle linebackers in the NFL now, they can make tackles.
Yeah.
They're used to this. These are all college guys that are used to these little quick guys, so and again in the NFL, give them a year or two in their strength and conditioning program, they'll bulk those guys up and keep their speed, maybe even make it faster. Like,
Yeah, sorry guys, I'm
you know,
checking everyone's height and weight because when I watched the tape on him, I really wasn't looking at or watching him to be unbiased. Like, oh yeah, this guy's big, so I like him. I'm like, that's the thing I liked about Benson. See right there, that he looked like a thicker dude, and he's kind of quick and tough. He has a little bit of both, which is pretty cool. Like Braylon
yeah.
looks like a hammer, which I love. I think his speed's deceptive though. He's not the slowest guy in the world. He's got a little bit of smash to him.
He is a much quicker, like when AJ Dillon came out.
Mm-hmm.
AJ Dillon actually had that little giddy up. I think he's quicker. He has more explosiveness than like AJ Dillon, but he has the power.
The thing I like about Corum is he's got like the just the savviness to him. I like what running backs where they're tough, but they're also that little like bowling ball kind of like build where they're short. Like I just saw it was five. He looked like that on tape. Like he's 5'8", 213. It says it's like that's actually really thick because with his height, that's 213 is really big, and he moves real fluid
the thing
too.
Is too, like, think he can get lost behind those linemen where it's hard for those defenders to find.
Hey, that's what made
right?
Emmitt Smith so good, man. You couldn't find him. He had that giant line. They were like, where'd he go?
The question is, hey, does that speed and quickness in the NFL, does that kind of get stymied?
A little different, yeah, it is.
People are fast and quick too.
No, I
think like, dude, you saw in the college football playoff what a difference maker he is.
No,
like, he is he was the heartbeat of that offense. I mean, that's the other thing too, right? When you're taking these running backs, again, remember drafting too is you're not drafting for need, right? You're trying to draft for potential. So, hey, has this guy, is his longevity going to be there because he is a senior and, he played in an offense where he took a beating. They did have a two-headed monster there, but, let's be honest, Michigan ran the ball a lot.
A lot. Yeah, McCarthy's the one that's getting me just because I'm like, we went over that. I'm not going to work into that. I just don't get, I feel like you got to show a little more than he did. I get he made throws in big time spots, but he also most of the time was handing the ball. I mean, it's weird. But Jonathan Brooks, I
still think it's wild shots with like JJ McCarthy, all this like hype.
Me too,
around,
yeah.
Like, teams are trying to. I just hope it's GM just trying to hype stuff up. I mean, I would still want Michael Penix Jr. I would never trade up for JJ McCarthy.
I agree.
I just like this guy in the NFL. You have to.
He makes the outside throws.
Protected so long.
He makes the outside throws too.
You have
That's
to have
what
a
I like.
quarterback that can go make throws. So.
No, I agree.
Whatever.
No, but Jonathan Brooks, I'm with Tom. I really do think he does have a high ceiling, but he also has like a floor where if he doesn't work out, he's decent though. He's not going to be terrible. I think all these guys are going to be solid players. It's running back. You can be solid if you put in. And like Tom said, the biggest thing, I'd like to bring this up every time before we're done with any group or anything. The one thing you cannot quantify with any of these players, I can think a guy's just okay. Are you going to put in the work when you get in the NFL? That's it. I will bring up again. I'll keep talking about him. He was a Raven and he got hurt last year, but Keaton Mitchell was undrafted. But when you watched him play, that means the guy put in work. When you watched him play, he came from practice squad to the team, and anyone watching the game could see he belonged on the field because he put in the work. The dude was running by everybody. It's like if you put it, I don't know who's going to put in the work. There could be a guy not on this list just makes a practice squad, starts kicking butt. Terrell Davis was a 6th-round pick. Yep. Everyone remembers how good he was. He's still the best playoff running back probably ever. He was ridiculous.
I will say the one thing I like about Blake Corum too, in the red zone, I mean, the guy had 27 touchdowns.
He gets in there,
This
man.
guy can find that is like, I mean, like I think of a team like Green Bay when they were really successful and would win 13 games.
Dorsey Levens.
In the red zone, Aaron Jones, it used to be like taxes, death, and Aaron Jones getting a touchdown.
I always remember Dorsey Levens because they would just, Brett was the man, but when they got close, they were like, big fella.
Yeah. I think that's like the biggest piece for Green Bay. That's why I think, honestly, like when the Aaron Jones thing didn't work out.
Damn, Tom.
That's one reason why they went and got.
You just made me think your team had a lot of like really awesome running backs. They really did. My boy Dorsey Levens.
Well, even thinking like since like 2005, like just think of the 2000s. You had Levens, you had Bennett, they used to have back.
Remember Najee?
hand, they had thumb, they had Amon Green, Najee Davenport, Tony Fisher. I mean, that team was ridiculous.
Man. And then
they moved on to Ryan Grant.
People
forget that. I mean, just a lot of fun, man.
They were all like really solid too. It was just a lot of solid. It's like the Ravens with fullbacks. They were like fullback. You got big. Hey, Vontae Leach should be in the Hall of Fame.
One of my favorite backs that never gets enough love because everyone just like goes, "Oh, he just wasted his talent," which I don't think he wasted it. I just think it is what he is, who he is, and people got to accept that. Dude, Eddie Lacy,
yeah,
was awesome. One of my he was a rookie of the year. Yeah, his body. People don't know he you can train sometimes and your body type end up he got chunky, but I bet you he was trying to get stronger and stuff in the NFL because he kept getting hurt.
It's hard to keep your weight when you're.
He was electric and he was good even when he was big.
No, he
wasn't. They had to use James Starks a little bit more, but I'm sorry, I really enjoy. I've always enjoyed Eddie Lacy. That man could just play and ball.
Me too.
It was disappointing when they didn't bring him back, just cheap.
Yeah.
Because I thought, dude, he would have been an awesome, why not?
I agree. So
Instead, they tried to play the experiment with Ty Montgomery. It's you kind of got what you got.
Tom, you want to go on to the wide receivers?
Yeah.
You ready? Okay, guys, it's our running back wrap up. Now we're going to go to the receivers. Oh, yeah, the big fellas.
Yeah, I think the last thing I'll say with the running backs is, I'd be really shocked if someone takes one in the first round.
Me too.
Yeah, I think those are all. I think you're going to see a few come off the board day 2 and day 3, and I don't want to sit here and judge like everyone's saying this class is bad. It's not bad. That's like last year where it's like is bad, and Green Bay may have found a potential number 1 receiver in the 7th round.
Well, here's the thing: we aren't talking about we're talking about too that running back how it's kind of not as important now, right? So it's like that's also it. We're not saying they're bad. It's just not the focal point of your offense anymore. It's like back in the day when they went a lot higher, but now it's not. It's kind of supply and demand, right? Look at quarterback. You're reaching on quarterbacks. Back in the day, you reached on running backs. Remember Lane Thomas and guys like that didn't work out because that's the guy that won games back then. Not anymore. Let's go. It's the quarterback. So now see, no one thinks about that. It's the same thing, right? Because it is. It's just we're moved forward and progression, and now quarterback's the position you need. So what do? We draft guys, Christian Ponder and EJ Manuel, who clearly were not that good, but we took the chance.
EJ that draft after the lockout. Oof. Like the lockout draft was bad because teams you had Jake Locker and Christian Ponder. Their teams were so desperate.
Oh man!
And they didn't know, and those quarterbacks never stood a chance.
That's why I will say Adrian Peterson. I still think that's the greatest season by a running back ever. He had Christian Ponder at quarterback and made the playoffs.
Dude,
Christian Ponder. Nobody was like, "Oh no, we gotta back up." Christian Ponder's winning. No offense, Christian Ponder. You're a good guy. I'm not hating on you. Okay, you and your wife do a great job. Okay. I'm just saying.
The more disappointing. It wasn't Christian Ponder. That was the Vikings being desperate.
The
more disappointing one was Jake Locker, who had all this success at Washington.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, he actually could be something. And man, he just fell flat on his face. And then he kept getting hurt.
Yeah, the injuries bit him up. His talent was really good, though. It really was.
He was so athletic, and he had a can. I mean, it was just.
He did get hurt too. I felt bad for him, but I heard he's doing really well though. To be fair, both of them, the 2 people I just talked about. So even though you might not work in the NFL, it doesn't mean you're still successful dudes. Okay, I'm not hating on y'all doing great.
No. Yeah, it's that lockout screwed those guys.
I just wanted to throw that out there because I don't want.
Remember the following year? Was it in the 2nd round or in the early 1st round? They took Mike Glennon. I think it was the early 2nd round.
Oh god, big giraffe man, giraffe neck.
Dude, him, and think EJ Manuel, the Bills traded up for, and you're just like.
Yeah, that was something. Oh God, him. I remember the hype behind it. Everyone was like, "Yeah, he's big and quick and all, but he's not good." Like, what are we doing? Yeah.
Oh, it was so bad. And then I moved. I was in Buffalo a few years later, and it was just he was just.
I just wanted to bring.
It was so frustrating.
I just wanted to bring that up because we talked about I think Johnny Manziel a while ago, and I'm like, see, that's the guy's still not taking account of all that stuff. I'm like, that's different. Okay, like these guys are fine. They don't care. They're like whatever. It's like even Ryan Leaf. It took a while, but he's just like, bro, it is what it is. I was immature. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's like I got no problem. People make mistakes. We all have our moments where we make bad decisions. Okay, or have bad outcomes with stuff. Some stuff just doesn't work out. I'm not even hating. You know, it's just the people that don't like sit there and don't make excuses all the time. It's like, hey, it's
yeah.
fine. It's fine.
No,
I ain't
no,
hating.
exactly. You know what? The one thing you never hear about is like Jamarcus Russell doesn't come out and say, "Yeah, people screwed me in the NFL." He's like, "I made a ton of." You know what? He made a ton of money, and his heart just wasn't in it,
Well,
and
it's
that's
even
okay. Like, look, that's the job of those organizations to figure out, like, hey, if I'm about to pay this guy all this money
yeah.
and I'm investing in the future, I best know this isn't like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you better know, like,
Well, it's like me and you were
is
talking about too. You don't know who's all the way in, and that's just what it is. Sometimes some guys are like, "Hey, I did it," and that is, again, don't ever make fun of these people because here's the thing with all these people we were talking about, right? They were still good enough at that sport to get a high draft pick and a lot of money, so they were still really good. It's just in the NFL, it's the one percenters. These are the people that are going to be better than you. It doesn't mean you're bad though.
I think where organizations stink is they just like the ones where they struggle and they're always in the top 10 is because they don't have a culture and they
No,
don't
I agree.
bring in
Agree,
people to that
100%.
culture. That's what it is.
It's also the
Like,
team's fault sometimes. They set him
you
up
know,
to fail. I always think about Joey Harrington. Like, I'm like, the guy had no shot. That team was so bad. He just got beat up.
oh yeah,
David Carr.
yeah, and
Oh my
like they
God.
never had, and like the and you think of like what they're doing now in Detroit, they have an identity. And
Hmm.
think of like Joe back then, those Lions had no identity. They just were like, we're gonna go acquire all this talent.
Yeah.
You know, and like it's like Green Bay Packers. Like they actually have an identity of who they are.
Yep.
At least offensively. I think defensively we'll see more of it
Yeah.
this year. But like
Well, like
that,
Achilles
like
Smith
that,
too.
that's what matters in the NFL. Like and it matters anywhere you work,
Hmm.
whatever. If the organization doesn't have an identity of the people and the character they want,
Hmm.
man, you're just like kind of there doing stuff, and that's
Yeah.
what happens. And like you can lose passion super quick. And that's what, like, dude, I'm telling you, just because you make millions of dollars, these guys do. They put their bodies through a lot to get in shape. It's not that simple. And when you're 30 some years old, and eventually you're just like, I don't care. And
Yeah.
I mean, too, think like, dude, yeah, I agree. Like, people got to back off. I mean, the Johnny Manziel thing too. Like, yeah, dude, just own it. Be like, yeah, it is what it is. You know what? I made a ton of money in college, and I'm a fun story. And you know what? I'm living my best life now. I don't really care.
No.
That's all you got to say, man.
But there we go. We got that cleared up. Now let's get into receivers. Tom, do you want to go first, or we just because I feel like this one we can just talk about them, spitball it, because we all know the guys. We know the guys.
Yeah.
The guys are here.
Dude, Marvin Harrison reminds me of like when Larry Fitzgerald came out. Like this guy is gonna. I would be surprised if he.
Again, I'm using PFF's thing.
A
Go ahead,
Hall
Tom.
of Famer. He's just gonna be super, super stable.
I agree.
I think it'd be awesome if like Arizona gets him, and you're just like, dang, they got two guys that are just gonna be like really insane talent. I think the guy, like, I really like Malik Neighbors. I mean, he's explosive, but he's a tough little dude.
Oh yeah, he is.
And
He is.
I don't think people saw a lot of that, or knew that. Like, I think even his sophomore year, he was more of a tough guy. Now he's actually a really crisp route runner and stuff. Like those two guys are super talented, and so is Rome.
Rome's my man. That's my guy. I love Rome.
That guy outside is unbelievable.
I just like his combo.
another-
He's tall and quick. He's kind of I like him. I like him a lot. I like all
I think
them.
another guy that's underrated. I mean, we'll see how it translates in the NFL to like, hey, when you have to make contested catches against NFL corners that are elite at getting the ball out, is Kevin Coleman or Keon Coleman.
Keon Coleman. Yeah.
I think he's much better than Calvin Benjamin ever was. More athletic.
Mhm. No, I agree.
Calvin. I don't think Calvin Benjamin ever had the hands that this guy does.
See, I think Coleman would be good for the Ravens. Honestly, they need a guy like that, a tough dude that gets the first downs. That's what they need. I like him.
Yeah, his thing though is to me is he's kind of like a Drake London, go get the ball.
Yeah.
He's not like Derek. The difference between like Derek Mason, Bolden, and those guys, they were smaller, but they were quick. They could get in the stop routes, those crosser routes.
Body
And
defender. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like they were quick. They were quick little tough guys.
Oh yeah.
That's what the Ravens really need. Like
Okay.
Flowers is explosive, but like they need like they almost like that's almost I don't remember what Derek Mason's size was, but they almost need
5'10". He
like
was 5'10".
that's where I think like Rome would be awesome for
Oh, dude, but he's
like the
big. He's a
Ravens
big
if
boy.
they're not gonna get him, but they
Oh, dude,
need
he's
guys like
6'3". You ain't
that
getting him.
more than like Keon Coleman. He's more of a like Keon Coleman would be great when like the 2015 Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
Like let Cam throw you a high ball and let him go get it. Like I think he would in like a high ball like 15, 20 yards down the field.
I like Brian Thomas too. He's big dude. LSU. I feel like LSU has the same thing they had when they had T Higgins. I mean, not T Higgins. When they had Justin Jefferson and what's his name, Jamar Chase, because they got the little like shifty dude that's tough, and then they got the big dude like Jefferson was, because like you said, Neighbors reminds me of him because of Chase. Maybe not as fast, but he has that like shifty, tough. And he like Chase, he's really tough. Like Jamar Chase is not like the biggest dude, but he is tough as hell. You know what I mean? You ever see him like throw off defenders, and you're like, he don't look that big, but he just no one can tackle him. It's hilarious. He just has it. And I still remember me and Tom used to talk about it. That stupid thing in the preseason where like he never catches the ball, he's gonna be a bust, and then doesn't drop any during the regular.
You know what? NFL preseason's almost like baseball. You know, when they're like, "Oh, a hitter's going, he's hitting 032."
No, my favorite was when Shohei was.
And honestly, like sometimes, like
my favorite was
you
when.
Never know, man.
My favorite for that, talking about baseball, was when Shohei was like had like an 80 ERA and was like batting like 110, and then the season started his first year, and then he was like 330 with a bunch of homers, like 3-0, and I was like, well, obviously he was just trying stuff.
Dude, my favorite this year is everyone on the Braves. They were so nervous about they invested in Jared Kelenic, and he's gotten 5 hits in 8 at bats, where it's taken him like on average about 25 at bats to get there on his previous years, and like he was hitting 032, and now he's hitting like 500 with like an OPS of like over.
Well, no. This crap at the beginning.
He was okay.
This crap at the beginning of the year too's dumb because do you got not no averages? We're getting into baseball, but like dude, a guy has a 3 for 4 day, and now he's batting 300, like 330 from batting 083, like you said. Oh look, now he's great. Like so we've only played like 6 games. Like
dude, it's no different in football though, Josh. Like you're bringing up a good point. Like these guys. Like, even in the preseason, they're working on stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And they're just trying to figure out who they are. Mm-hmm. But once they get into, like, week 1, week 2, they're not only trying to work on, like, game plans and stuff, but they're trying to work little kinks out in their game, too.
So, okay, Tom, like, we got into Keon, but...
It's the same thing, man. Like, you don't, like... It's so hard. You can only really start judging, like, week 5 and 6 and start to say, hey... And I mean, there's like look at Green Bay this year. Week 6 is totally different than week 17. So even then, I'm probably lying to you.
What do you think of the Franklin kid?
Franklin.
The Oregon kid, Troy Franklin. The Oregon kid, kind of tall, lanky guy. I just looked at his height on here, 6'3".
I mean, again, he's just like it's Oregon with athletes. I don't know.
Right, me too.
Like I hate. Oregon is a great football program. They know how to, they're super athletic. I get all that, but like when it comes to size, I don't think it translates well to the NFL. That's where I think they lose me.
I agree.
Like, and in the NFL, the problem is like the corners are so good, and the way they can scheme up defenses, right? These guys are just much smarter. They play more physical. Like, it's not like playing Utah State where they're going to play 10 yards off you, and this guy just gets a free run and he's a track star.
Yeah.
Like that's what, like, the NFL, that might happen once or twice, and the teams are like, no, we're done with that. We're going to get our hands on you. And a Marcus Peters is going to basically lock you down at the line of scrimmage. And I'm not, like, yeah, it's kind of the same with, like, Xavier Worthy, right? Like, yeah, what a beast, but look at his weight. He's smaller than Troy Franklin.
No, but it's true. Well, Franklin's tall. He's just... like you said, 187 is very skinny. If you're that, you have to be like Deshaun Jackson, where you show on tape that you just get open deep.
You better be Devontae Smith out of Alabama.
That too. No, it's the same kind of guy. But I'm saying like
but when Devontae Smith, you notice when he gets into the end of the year,
he gets banged up.
Season, just like the fatigue start to hit him. he's a Ferrari, and if you don't maintain that and put in all the, they get worn down really quick. They can't hit 120 all
Well,
the time.
yeah, yeah. What I was trying to say, like, no, him. The thing I like about Devontae is he's a like great route runner and all that stuff. I mean, he gets open deep, but he can hit you with some out routes and stuff. The thing with like Deshaun was saying, like when you're a speed guy like that, if you show on tape that you get open deep all the time, like he did, it's kind of like okay, I like that because that translates, right? That's a skill that no one talks about with receivers, which I don't like. Is there's certain guys because Torrey Smith, remember him? All I heard about is his hands, right? But nobody brought up the fact that every time you watched him on tape, he got behind cover two, man coverage. Everyone can beat man. A good receiver, if you have kind of decent speed, you can beat man coverage, right? Because you could get a good release or whatever. But when you're getting behind like the cover two, cover three, that's a skill. Like some guys just know how to like they have like a feel for like floating and just getting by, not letting people get hands on them, and that translates a lot of times. If you get open deep, you're gonna do it at the pro level too. You really,
Yeah,
because it's like
you bring up a super good point. I mean, I don't know. I'm just not a super big fan of the Oregon guys. That's all.
no, I'm
I
with you.
just,
You got to prove it
I
to
just
me.
think they're
I'm the same.
athletes,
I'm
and
the
that's
same.
fine. Like it works in college, it just doesn't work in the
No, dude,
NFL.
people like to say you can't go by a track record, but yes, you can. I mean, where's the Oregon guy where I'm like, oh, those dudes, Hall of Fame level? No, 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 no.
Quarterbacks, like running backs. I mean, like I would say, like one of the better players from Oregon, at least in offensively, might have been Ken John Barner.
And
And he was a mad
Stewart,
player. Like,
Jonathan Stewart,
like who else could you honestly say in
Jonathan
the
Stewart,
past?
Jonathan Stewart was really good. Not great, but he was really good.
Yeah, no, there's a good name. Yeah, like I can't really name like any of those guys that have truly
And
panned out.
honestly,
Quarterbacks, receivers.
Tom will laugh.
Defensively is a different story.
Yes.
Defensively,
Yeah.
that's where like those athletes and those guys matter.
No, really. No. Who's the kid
Not
that for oh my god, the guy for New England that's been like a great corner. Like they talk about Sauce Gardner all the time. I love Gonzalez. That man he's tough. He's from Oregon.
remember Haloti Nada out of
Yep.
Oregon.
Oh my god. Most underrated
I
Raven. Oh my god.
some of their DNs, I think, in that scheme back in the day, their DNs, like the Deion Jordans and stuff, those guys are just fast dudes. And honestly, I just don't think Deion Jordan wanted it enough.
No, no.
But
Also, I think Miami like they really never see. It's like I'm making a baseball analogy for you too. It's cool when you have a guy that's a good player and you keep moving them all over the place and never give him like a actual position to play. They kind of did the same thing with him. They were just like, oh, you're gonna be a linebacker, you're gonna be an end, you're gonna be like. It's like you gotta like, do you want him to bulk up or do you want him to just be a quick dude? Like you gotta pick. You need weight? Oh no, you don't. We want you to be fat. You gotta pick. That's when Miami was like in their 5-year run where they were just a dumpster fire. Remember the Ravens ended it by dropping like 70 points on them and over.
Oh yeah, well, remember, I mean, it started with Nick Saban just saying, "Screw it, I'm gonna go to
Yeah.
Alabama." Because I think he was actually building something.
No, that Mika. Anyone wants context? Mika Fitzpatrick looked terrible on their team. Went to the Steelers, and now he's a great player. It's wild. It's like sometimes the players are the problem, but sometimes it's like, dude, your team is terrible. You had this guy, and he leaves, and then all of a sudden he's an All-Pro. Like,
dude, it's people don't understand coaching matters in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
It really does, and it's not just scheme. It's like action, the coaching and the culture. Because it's almost like it's wild. Like in the real world, like teaching and
good
like,
bosses make your.
You see good organizations. They teach, but they also.
No, you're right. A good boss is gonna make you want to work for them, and they're gonna make you better because they're gonna put you in positions to get better instead of like, hey, I don't want you taking my job, so I'm not gonna help you. You know what I mean? It's true. It's true. You need a leader.
No, I mean, in the NFL too, but like when you have like Miami, I think I think Miami now is much better, but like even still, like Miami, like you think of like their philosophy offensively. That team is built like kind of like Oregon. They're just this track star team. But when you get into like, I have to go play in Kansas City when it's -7 out.
Yeah.
That don't work.
No.
You can try, but like, at some point you got to be,
Well, no, I got a good.
That toughness, like building I mean, Miami hasn't figured out yet how to be tough.
No, I got a good example for you. It's not even that far, like past. So you look at the guy, I know he made a mistake in the AFC Championship game, but Zay Flowers, he showed the toughness, right? That you could see it on the film. He could play, like he could make it. He's tough and quick. You know, he can take a beating a little bit. He's a tough dude, a little shifty guy. But then you look at Kadarius Toney, and you could see like right away he was just a quick dude, and he kind of can't figure it out. You know what I mean? His hands are inconsistent too, really inconsistent. You know, everyone drops passes, but Jesus, player, and he complains, and it's like, dude, just play ball, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of Florida fans would tell you that's exactly what he was, and you know, like that's where again he went to a terrible organization in the Giants.
Yep.
They're like, oh
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
you know, like look at their track record of late. I mean,
Yep.
right now they're in a quarterback market and they paid Daniel
Dan
Jones
$40 million. Wow, you guys are.
because of desperation instead of just like, dude, like think about it. Last year they could have just said, screw you, Daniel Jones. You do whatever you want. And they could have played with Tyrod Taylor and had this, and they clearly they had this. They would have had the same result.
Yep.
They might actually, but they were actually better when Tyrod was in there.
By the way, Tom just mentioned a guy. When he retires, you know how many people are going to love Tyrod because he just never complained, played well, had a stint where he was like a really good player, and then he got Buffalo to the playoffs.
He led Buffalo to the playoffs for the first time in a long time.
Not only that, and no one will say this because it's Tyrod. He had a 5'8" receiver as like his deep threat then. He didn't have no weapon. He was just really good, dude. Just really solid player. That's a guy, man. We were just talking about it. You don't know what people are what they want to put into it. That man sat as a backup, got better, got a chance, played really well. Solid career, man. I'm telling you, that's a dude you're never gonna hear anything bad. He's probably gonna be on TV after he's done because he has burnt no bridges. Everyone likes him. Trust me.
No, going back to these receivers though, like I just like I think the top of the list, these are all like outside guys that are playmakers, potential blue chippers, right?
Yeah, I went all. I
like the Lad McConkeys. You got, one guy I like as a slot receiver, Roman Wilson. Like, I think he's like again like what I like about Michigan and their team is they may be small, but they got like tough football players everywhere. I don't know how well that translates to the NFL, but that does matter.
No, I agree.
But those are, I like some of those guys. Another guy I like I've watched a few times, Xavier Leggett from South Carolina.
Pulling him up right now on the. I'm using Fantasy Pros just so we can get him on there. Yeah, I'm a big fan of him too. Big fan. Dude.
There's like a ton of I think there's just more depth in this wide receiver class. Like last year, like I said, I don't understand. Like everyone's like, last year's receiver class wasn't very good. I mean, Green Bay potentially got.
Oh, I beg to differ. Yeah.
And later in the draft was the value, and Dontavian Wicks is a potential number 1 in the NFL.
Oh,
so
Tom,
you tell me if it's
the Ravens. Tom, the Ravens. Zay Flowers. You could say what you want about him fumbling, but God, if that's an indication of how much he had a great rookie year, could you imagine in a couple years? And he's so versatile. You could use him in the slot. He's quick on RPOs. The guy gets open deep. There's like nothing he can't do.
No, Chotch, that was just him trying to make a play. Anybody that's making fun of him for fumbling.
How about we give the cornerback credit? Because most cornerbacks don't even want to tackle. Janarius Sneed poked that ball right out. A game-saving play, too, because I don't know if the Ravens would have won, but it would have definitely been a little, like, it would have got a little tight. The game would have got a little tight. You'd been like, oh, we got a game, boys.
I mean, it honestly was, I mean, it's just like, it just wasn't the Ravens' day.
No.
That was a tough game.
I hate blaming. It's always the blame game, right? How about we give some credit to the guy that made the play? It's like when a car accident happens, you always like, why were you there? It's like sometimes you got to give credit to the people that make the play, too. Jarius Sneed, right? There's a lot of corners that would have just like gave up and did like the little lazy, like wrapped their arm around the guy's waist and let him score, right? That man was like, I don't know if he's going to score, but I'm going for it. And he got all ball, baby, all ball.
Yep.
I remember watching the replay. My heart dropped, and I was like,
it's super interesting they let him walk.
Yeah.
I know they drafted the other slot corner, McDuffie, that's really good.
He is. But he's a slot guy. You need an outside corner.
Sneed has made a lot of plays for that team.
You need your outside corner, too, though. Like you're saying, that's a... And he comes through in big spots.
What's wild is I don't know. Like the one thing I've always learned in the NFL, just in football in general, the minute you think you have a ton of depth at a spot, it only takes 1 or 2 injuries or a transaction and then another injury where you don't have the depth anymore.
No, it can
That's
go
where
away
I'm
quick.
always like it's always interesting when people are like, oh, you got to make a trade. Like, you know, like right now, like the big thing with the Packers is they should try to trade Christian Watson. I'm like, if you get Christian Watson healthy and consistent. He is the deep ball game changer on that offense.
Well, my thing is your team's that's your team's strength too, the depth at receiver. Why would you ruin that? Because you don't need. You can let him get healthy.
That love each other and don't care who gets the ball. Like at this point, you ride that as long as you can because once these guys get their second contract in the NFL,
they're gonna leave.
They start becoming divas, man. Screw that.
You can't sign everyone either, even if they're not divas. It's like. This is the thing I hate when people do this. Where's the loyalty? NFL teams will cut your ass as soon as you're useless. So yes, if someone is giving you like the Patrick Queen thing, if a team, I don't care if it is your rival, if the Vikings go, hey, Romeo Dobbs, we're gonna give you like $30 million a year, which is crazy for a receiver, but I'm just being ridiculous. It's like, hey, yeah, take that money because guess what? As much as the Packers love you, as soon as you get a little slow, you know what's gonna happen. You know, we got 3 other guys that. Sorry, buddy. Take a pay cut or get the fuck out. It's life. You got to take the money.
No, it's true, man. And honestly, it's not that you're useless. It's just, hey, like
there's a better younger guy. Yeah, it is.
It's a young man's game.
It is.
Yeah, you can eventually get that production.
Oh no, I wasn't saying they're wrong. I'm just saying how it works in football. That's the system. You have to get your money, bro. No hate. Get your money.
Yeah, trust me, man. It sucks. Like I hate that the Packers lost. Aaron Jones. Like, it sucks. But, like, it made sense. There was no reason to pay him, like, a top 10 running
Now, the thing where I think Tom is absolutely right is
what?
Hold on, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but the thing where I think you're absolutely right is just don't badmouth the organization when you leave. You know how the game works. That's it.
Oh, my gosh. Dude, every time Green Bay cuts someone lately, they get butthurt. Like, I mean, like, Devondre Campbell, like, I'm sorry, man. Like, dude, like, you lost all the respect I had for you. When you're crying about and you're trying to be like, oh yeah, look, San Francisco gave you nothing. They're trying to hopefully and praying that you stay somewhat healthy, but they have a linebacker that's a stud already.
Oh yeah. If Greenlaw's okay,
you're just there filling space. Yeah. And honestly, you're going to be on the field in running downs because you can't move. You know, and like, look, we get it. The defense, there's a ton of problems with what Green Bay was doing, but. You know what? It is what it is. Play the game.
No,
I don't know, man. You got a third contract because you played like an all-pro, and Green Bay gave you that shot. I just be appreciative. I don't know, like that's all I'm saying. I just get like so frustrated. Same thing with like Aaron Rodgers. Like, guys, that's not. It's not how it works. It's not even how it works in the working world. Eventually, too, sometimes, you know, things need to change.
No, I agree. No,
it's not. It sucks. It sucks a lot, but like that's just kind of life. It's always ever evolving. You gotta change and evolve yourself.
But what I would say about the receivers in this draft, like Tom said, Marvin, you gotta take Marvin, first receiver. He's off the board. He's just too consistent. I think his ceiling and his floor, like he's just gonna be really good. And then his ceiling's Hall of Fame, but really, really good's the floor for me. He's just gonna be good. He has a pedigree too. You know the work ethic's probably going to be there because his dad's going to be the first one that's been teaching him, hey, son, come on, hit it. Let's go. And everyone forgets how good his dad was because his dad was a technician. That dude was awesome. And he wasn't 6'4". His son is 6'4". Here, I will show you. The man is tall. Anyway, well, I guess he's a kid compared to me. Malik Neighbors, love him. I don't have a problem with him going number 2. My guy is still Rome because he's 6'3". He's got speed. I love him. Just a combo. He's and like Tom always says about him, this is a good idea. Tom's got a good idea. Maybe the team that takes Rome. We were talking about this. Maybe you can get Penix later on since he's a little lower. You could get him. You could link him up again. Maybe the Vikings. Maybe the same other teams. I think it could be a really really good combo you could get for very easily. Trade back in the first round. Get Penix late. Just saying.
I honestly don't know.
And here's the other one. Donnie Mitchell. If you're going to pick a Texas receiver, I like him. He's a lot taller, tougher guy. He's a little slight, but he has more upside, I think, than Worthy, who I think is good. And Leggett, I'm just getting all my stuff out there, Tom, before you go. I like Brian Thomas too. LSU, good pedigree, big dude, makes tough catches. Um, Leggett, Xavier Leggett, a lot of comparisons to AJ Brown, and I don't think it's lazy because they're kind of the same. They're real tough, thick dude, good speed. Oh yeah, I think he could be really good too. I think he's underrated. Like Tom said, Coleman. I just want to see if it translates to the NFL, the contested catch thing. I think he has great hands. I think if he's with the right team, he can help a lot. And you know what? Carolina might be a good spot for him too, just because if they could somehow finagle it to get up and get a chance at him. I know they lost some draft picks with that trade last year. It was wild, but if they could get him, I think he would help Bryce a lot, give him a big target to like throw for first downs and contested catches. But we'll see if that happens. But overall, deep class. Lad McConkey. Oh, I won't say your name wrong. Little tough slot guy, kind of like him too. He's not bad. I think in the new NFL he helps a lot. Like Tom said, Troy. I want to see a Oregon guy kind of work out at receiver. They're kind of all kind of like meh, but they have speed. Roman Wilson, tough, reliable target for Michigan. Think he could be a solid player in the NFL. Overall, this class is very deep. They are with quarterback being the main thing that gets you points now in the big part of the league. You need guys to catch the ball. You really do. And if you ain't got them, you need to get some. It's like look at Bryce Young last year. That was, geez, that man was. And I love Adam Thielen, but he's on his last legs and he's just trying to help. If that's your best target, you're in trouble. You really are. But
yeah,
overall, great class. You got a lot of guys to pick from. Yeah, Tom.
Yep, exactly. You have a lot of blue chip potential or building blocks, right? So that's, I think, the difference. I think when you want to say strength of like a draft class or whatever, hey, this class isn't as strong in this position. It's more just there's a lot of unknown.
Yep.
Like the running backs, there's just a lot of unknown of how good they'll be. And it was the same last year with receivers. I would agree if you put people in that category. But sometimes that's actually better when you have that unknown.
It is. I agree.
I think when you label a class as this is the greatest class ever, you know what? I think remember the receiver class in 13 or 14 draft? Was it the 14 draft class?
Mm-hmm.
Sammy Watkins. Like think about this. Sammy Watkins was picked before Mike Evans, Odell Beckham, missing someone else.
Yeah.
Hopkins. And honestly, in that draft class, Evans is really good. I think Hopkins is the best of them all.
Yeah.
Odell was like 3, maybe.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple of guys, too, that were taken in the second round that were really good, too, and I can't remember. But, anyways, that's what's funny is I think people get labeled, and they think they've made it, and it's tough. You got to put in the work. But, yeah, there's a lot of building blocks in this draft class, though, for wide receivers. That could be difference makers pretty quickly.
No, I agree. And Romeo Big Game Dobbs, I forgot to give him his nickname because every time it's a playoff game, that man makes plays. But the Packers, like Tom said, if you do your drafting right and you get people that fit your scheme, because that matters too, you could really fix a lot of things. And like Tom said, cohesive units. Packers are really looking good next year with all the moves they made. I love that. That's all strip. So we gave you our draft analysis. Now there's one more thing we're going to go to before we go there. We got to talk about the Rasheem Rice thing because that is wild.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, simple as this, man. Just I noticed it living in the South too. You know, I understand people have places to be. And sometimes you have a fast car, you want to drive, you just want to go, you want to use it for what you paid for it. I understand that. Also, man, remember, there's other people trying to get home to their families, too. There's no reason for anyone to be going 20, 30 miles over the speed limit, weaving around traffic. Because all that tells me is you don't care about anybody else but yourself. And number one, too, if you're causing accidents like that, be a man and own up to it and make sure you stick around and help. Like, you made a stupid mistake. You best, own up to it and be a man. Yeah, I mean, the whole Rice thing is just, it's super unfortunate. I mean, you just see it, I don't know what.
Yeah, I don't know.
I remember being young. I understand sometimes you think you're invincible, but I don't. That never ever has crossed my mind of I should go over 100 miles an hour and cut people off. Like, I mean, anything can happen in a blink of an eye. Shit, you could die. That's what's even more unbelievable is like there are people that rely on you too. It's not just respect for others. It's like you're not even respecting yourself enough.
No,
It's just
you're right.
absolutely a terrible, dumb decision.
And we don't know,
Like,
and I know, like, we don't even know yet if he was driving, but the fact is you were in that car and you didn't say anything if you weren't driving. And like Tom said, stay there and take the. You messed up. It's okay. Everyone messes up. The fact that you left's the problem. And if it was because you were drinking, you know what, dude? That's even worse. Because I don't know why you think it's going to get you out of anything. You walked away from an accident. You're going to jail if that happens. Oh, wait, you don't have a DUI. Oh. Can't drive a car in prison, okay? Even with a license. I don't know what they're gonna do, okay? Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I just, like,
Now that you have a lot to...
The NFL provides so many resources for these players. I never understand.
Well, Tom, he has enough money to take an Uber. I mean, what are we doing? No, he broke.
Well, it's not. Yeah, it's not even though taking an Uber and stuff, Josh. They like the NFL in each city. They have people that
will pick you up.
Call if you are drunk.
Yeah.
You go get. They will take you home.
Anywhere. Yep.
And there's no judgment.
Nope. That's their job. That's their job.
That's just. You're just being dumb. Like beyond. Like dumb and selfish, man. And it sucks because, like I said, thank God no one got hurt. But like,
And
yeah,
he's a
there's no reason for it. It's the same here. Like everyone's just trying to get home.
Yep.
20 miles an hour faster doesn't get you there that much faster.
No, he's a terrific player too.
Stuff,
terrific.
It's all the same thing.
He's a terrific player too. It's unfortunate because who knows? This could really just like ruin his whole career. And my thing is, like, you could say what you want about Henry Ruggs, and that was awful what happened. But the one thing that man did, he stayed. Okay, he took all the brunt. I didn't hear no excuses. Took the mug shots. Did all the stuff he had to do. He's serving his time too. You make fun of him all you want, but he's taking responsibility for what happened. And see, that's why same thing happened with Michael Vick. You can respect people when they do that. Okay, if he comes back, I'm not gonna be like, what a jerk, because you know what? He served his time. He didn't sit there and go, hey, I didn't do it. I'm gonna run away. See, man, just you mess up, take the you do the crime, do the time, bro. Well, you might even get probation, but it's just like now you look. Just what he did is gonna make him look so bad. Like, why'd you run? Like, that's kind of like, trust me, people are gonna look down on that shit, and it puts like a cloud over your team. Now you're the champs, dude. You had all the momentum going your way. Have better like foresight in your mind. If you're friends, just a word of advice, because I grew up in a rough neighborhood. If your friends ain't got your best interest at heart, they're probably not good friends to keep around, bro. I'm just saying. Because one of your friends should have told you, bro, you shouldn't be driving right now. Because if you have real friends, they'll tell you that. I'm just saying.
I honestly don't think that's it, Josh. I truly just think he had a fast car and he was screwing around.
Okay.
You see it in Atlanta. People just cruise sometimes.
Well, you would know better than me. I don't live in the South.
They think that they, because they have that fast car, they can just do what they want. Or they just, again, people are like, I can make that move. Man, it doesn't take much.
No, you got to be really careful.
Into a disaster and you kill someone in the other car because you were arrogant.
Well, no, you're right. That's you got to have more.
It's so dumb. Like, I see it all the time here in Atlanta, and it just, it's sad. It's like, guys, and like Rasheen Rice, I hope you learn from it. That's all I can say.
Me too.
And I'm sure you were. I hope you grow. Like, I ain't gonna judge you.
Me either. Redemptions. Everybody makes mistakes. It's okay.
Everybody has their mistakes.
Just get better from it.
That have really, really bad, dumb mistakes.
Yeah.
But
learn from them. As long as you learn from them.
I don't know, man. Maybe too is just sometimes some people's mistakes. It's a tiny mistake that turns out really, really bad, and some people are just more unlucky than others. I don't know. So where they're just not. So I think some people sometimes take calculated risks that maybe turn into a mistake that just doesn't hurt as bad. Some people just, I don't know, man. It was super arrogant. But I will say this: in Dallas, people fly around.
Okay.
They drive like idiots. The speed limit there is like 75.
Oh.
So like going 100 is actually not uncommon there.
Gotcha. Okay. Tom knows better than me. I've never even been to Dallas. And haven't went.
Yeah, no, I mean Texas. Like, I mean, I think there's some interstates you can go 80. Like seriously, like you can go very fast there, which is fine. So like I'm telling you, 100 sometimes. Like people hear that. When I lived in Maryland, like the speed limit generally everywhere is
Oh, they got
60,
cameras
55.
everywhere. They they
You get
they
outside
they hem
you
you
know,
up.
if you're going 100, you're definitely getting a ticket.
Oh yeah, yeah. And Baltimore is
But
very very small, like the streets and stuff. So you really can't fly that much because
yeah,
you'd run into a sign.
that's a perspective I do want to give for like people though for not defending him, but like people seriously, they're like you are allowed to drive fast.
Sounds like it's
I
like
mean,
the
it's the
culture
same.
there. I
It's the
got
same.
you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's the same in the South too. Like the speed limits here, when you get outside the city, are like 75. When you get on the open highway, so you look at other areas of the country where it's more condensed, you can't go that fast.
No, no.
So, but generally, just because you can go that fast doesn't mean though you're allowed to weave around and drive like a hole. So that's the difference.
Gotcha. Yep.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Okay, next week we're gonna probably cover the tight ends and what other one you think we should do with that, Tom?
I mean, we're gonna have to start getting into probably like the offensive line.
Tight end and O line. You want to do tight end
We
and
gotta
O line?
start crushing like.
You want tight end and O line?
Easier.
You want to do
the next couple weeks too on defense. You gotta do the
You want to do
line.
you want to do tight end?
And safeties.
You want to do tight end and O line next week?
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Because we all know the tight end man that's coming out, and he looked pretty good. Now there's a couple, but you know who I'm talking about. Old Brocky boy. He's something else.
Mr. Bowers.
He's pretty good.
Heck yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Likes as always are appreciated. Subscribe for more of our content, and as always, go ahead, Tom.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. Bye. Take it easy.